Hey guys, this is Danimal MTG. Thanks for checking out my first limited set review. I play a lot of sealed and draft, and I always love getting this information as a starting point for the limited format. I know Universes Beyond gets some extra disdain, and I to some degree share, and as such, I know that some content creators were doing less information this set. That's totally understandable, but the set reviews are really important to me, and I wanted to make sure that there was one out there for everyone who also used them. Before we get to some card grades, here's a few notes about my review in the set. Here's the grading scale that I'll be using throughout the set review. 9 to 10 are your bombs. You're always playing them if you're in the colors, and a lot of the time they'll pull you into their colors. Sometimes they're even worth splashing. 7 to 8, these are good cards, above average for most of them. They give you lots of value, built-in 2-for-1s, or cards that really elevate an archetype to a higher level. 4 to 6 are your more average cards, cards that you'll normally play. Not always excited about them, but they advance your game state and allow you to hold your own. 1 to 3 are cards that you are almost always hoping to cut. A lot of the time they're understated, easily removed, situational type cards that don't bring immediate value. A lot of the time your sideboard specific cards will fit in this category as well. And 0s are just unplayable and limited. They're meant for other formats. As this is my first set review, my numbers might be slightly off, so put a little bit more stock into what I say about the cards themselves, rather than the numerical value that I give them. If you're familiar with ninjutsu, you basically know how sneak works. The main difference is that this is a cast and not an activated ability. This means that it is counterable. If you aren't familiar with ninjutsu, here's how sneak works. Once attackers and blockers have been declared, the attacker will have priority to pay the sneak cost on a creature and return an unblocked creature to put the creature with sneak onto the stack. If it resolves, the cast creature will enter tapped and attacking. Returning the creature is a part of the cost, so even if it is countered, the original creature will be in your hand. Also, as this can read kind of weird to new players, just remember that this has to be done after the declare blocker step. Even though your creature technically isn't blocked yet after attacks are declared, but before blocks, you can't sneak out yet. Not yet blocked is not the same as unblocked. You can also respond to other spells as long as the creature is unblocked and you haven't yet gone to damage. Keep this in mind with instant speed removal. Disappear is another functionally similar keyword ability to Revolt. The only difference is that I believe all disappear triggers are end step triggers. Any permanent leaving the battlefield in any way will trigger your disappear. Death, exile, sack, flicker or blink, etc. Mutagen tokens are a good way to trigger this. Just keep in mind that you can still only get one disappear trigger no matter how many permanents you had leave the battlefield. Mutagen tokens. These are a new artifact token type this set that reads 1 tap and sacrifice this token to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Activate only as a sorcery. These seem pretty plentiful in the set, especially in the green-blue color pair. These will help trigger disappear as well as artifact ETB triggers. And while you probably won't ever need to do it, keep in mind that these can also target your opponent's creatures as well. Alliance is just a trigger for when another creature enters the battlefield under your control. That's it. The triggers themselves may all do different things, but the cause is all the same. A creature enters, you get an alliance trigger. Classes versus sagas. I'm kind of surprised that they put both of these in the same set, but that's what they did, so I'll mention them real quick. Classes enter at level 1, and you pay the associated cost for the next level at sorcery speed to level them up. They keep the abilities of the previous levels. Sagas trigger automatically when they enter and after your draw step. They sacrifice themselves after their final chapter resolves. Unless otherwise stated, they do not keep the abilities of previous chapters. I'm sure everybody knows what combat tricks are, so I'm not going over that, but I did want to mention that I think they will be better this set than usual. You and your opponents will be much more incentivized to block than usual due to sneak. If things are unblocked, you never know what's going to come out. As both attacking and blocking are extra important in this set, combat tricks will be too, as they can help you win or at least trade in combats when you are forced to block to keep your opponents from sneaking bigger creatures out. Pay attention to all of the tricks in the set. The archetypes this set are white-black, ninjas and sneak, white-red go wide aggro, blue-red artifacts, blue-green mutants and mutagen tokens, and black-green disappear. Only 5 archetypes again, which I don't like, but at least in this case they aren't as specific to their color combinations. You can have overlap in this set, unlike in Lore when Eclipsed. Mutagen tokens are good for blue-green or black-green. A lot of the red artifacts that you want for blue-red will also help go wide for red-white. This should hopefully help the set from feeling stale. Now, let's finally get into some card evaluation. Baxter Stockman. 3 blue-red for a 3/3 legendary creature human scientist at uncommon. When Baxter Stockman enters, create a 1/1 colorless robot artifact creature token. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target artifact creature you control gets +3/+0 and gains first strike and vigilance until end of turn. Normally at 5 mana for 2 bodies, you'd be getting a 3/3 and a 2/2. We have less stats than usual here, but an extra ability thrown in with it. And the ability is pretty legit. +3/+0 first strike and vigilance makes almost any artifact creature into a dangerous attacker. Now, hopefully you already have an artifact creature out so that his ability can trigger the turn you play him, but even if you don't, he brings along a little robot buddy anyway. This is a really strong signpost uncommon for the blue-red deck, giving it a 7. Bebop and Rocksteady are 1 hybrid green-black for a 7/5 legendary creature boar rhino mutant. Whenever Bebop and Rocksteady attack or block, sacrifice a permanent unless you discard a card. This card can really do some damage if you get it down on turn 3, but you have to have expendable stuff to throw away to do it. Now, there's mutagen tokens all over the set, but it'll be hard to have a steady enough supply to continually send this at your opponent. It also has no evasion, so they can chump block while you're throwing away value every turn. Not to mention that it's very easy to 2-for-1 for your opponent if they have instant speed removal after you sacrifice something. This is a sad card to start with for the set, especially since these are some beloved characters, but I think they're just a 3. Brilliance Unleashed is 4 blue and a red for a sorcery at uncommon that says choose one or both. Brilliance Unleashed deals 5 damage to target creature, or choose target artifact card in your graveyard. Return it to the battlefield if it's an artifact creature card. Otherwise, return it to the battlefield and it's a 3/3 robot artifact creature token with flying. Another pretty good card for the blue-red artifact deck. This is almost always a 2-for-1, which helps to pull you back from behind or cement your lead. You're overpaying by a decent amount for either ability individually, but if you get both of them, you're looking at solid value. And the better the thing you reanimate, or if it has an ETB, this just gets better and better. I love that it also turns non-creature artifacts into a body for you as well. This is super solid and gets a 7. Dark Leo and Shredder are a white and a black for a 1/3 legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle human at Mythic Rare. They have sneak for a white and a black. Attacking ninjas you control have Death Touch. Whenever Dark Leo and Shredder deal combat damage to a player, create a 1/1 black ninja creature token. Then, if you control 5 or more ninjas, that player loses half their life, rounded up. This seems good, not great. You'll make a ninja or 2, but your opponent is never going to let this keep hitting them, and without combat tricks, you're only ever trading with 1 creature, so it isn't terrible to multi-block. More ninjas are obviously better, but otherwise it's just okay. And ninjas, while certainly in the set, aren't as all over like allies from Avatar. I'd be glad to be wrong on this one, but I'm starting it at a 6. Don and Leo Problem Solvers. 3 white-blue hybrid for a 4/6 legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle at rare. They have vigilance, and at the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target artifact you control and up to 1 target creature you control. Then return them to the battlefield under their owner's controls. This is mostly Conjurer's Closet on a stick. Stats are decent, and there seem to be enough ETBs in the set to get decent value off the flicker effect here, and sometimes you'll get to flicker an artifact as well. The more ETBs you have in your deck, the better this gets, but getting a few shouldn't be too hard. I'm giving this a 7. Dawn and Wrath Hard Science. 1 blue-red hybrid for a 2/4 legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle at rare. They have Menace, and whenever Dawn and Wrath attack, the next non-creature spell you cast this turn has affinity for artifacts. Affinity has historically not been a very fair or balanced mechanic. I don't think it'll be an issue here though. You may get a 1 to 2 mana discount, sometimes more, sometimes less, but I don't think you're ever getting away with murder or anything here. Stats are just okay. Hybrid mana is nice. Mostly just play this in your artifact decks. This duo gets a 6. EPF Point Squad. 1 red-white hybrid for a 2/1 creature human soldier at common. They have Alliance. Whenever another creature you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. This can obviously grow as time goes on, but the starting stats are terrible. When literally any removal can kill it, you run the possibility of losing so much tempo and mana advantage when something like this gets removed for 1 mana. I could be wrong since the Avatar Enthusiasts ended up being pretty good, but I don't like this too much to start. I'm giving it a 4. Foot Elite. 2 white-black hybrid for a 2/4 creature human ninja at common. Whenever this creature attacks, another target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. These are okay stats on a 3-drop. You'd probably prefer a 3/3 normally, but the extra toughness hopefully makes this harder to block effectively so that you can continue to get its attack trigger going. The attack trigger will often put the opponent in a bad spot because they will most likely need to chump block or potentially let you sneak a creature through. Either way, it's good attack for you. The hybrid mana gives this a nice bump as well. Solid playable in black or white, especially with sneak. 5. Foot Ninjas. 4 white-black hybrid for a 5/5 creature human ninja at common. It has sneak for 3 and a white-black hybrid. When this creature enters, you gain 3 life. 6 mana for a 5/5 that gains you 3 is okay. 4 mana for a 5/5 that gains you 3 is good. This will be somewhere in the middle as you have to have the option to do either. This feels way better if you can sneak something expendable or rebuy an ETB, but this kind of averages out to the middle of the 2 options. I'm also giving them a 5. Genghis Frog. A green and a blue for a 1/3 legendary creature, Frog Mutant Rogue, at uncommon. They have trample, and whenever Genghis Frog or another mutant you control enters, create a mutagen token. This is a good place to put counters from your mutagen tokens, and also a nice engine to make them. If you have enough mutants in your deck, this is going to be a great turn too. Without mutants, this is still decent looking and gets you 2 permanents for 2 mana. Mutants seem pretty prevalent in this set, with basically every non-human creature being one, so you shouldn't have to try too hard to get them. I'm giving this card a 6. Go Ninja Go is red and a white for a sorcery at uncommon. Choose one or both. Exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control, or Go Ninja Go deals damage equal to the greatest power among creatures you control to target creature an opponent controls. I wish this was an instant, but then it might be a little too good. As it is, it'll hopefully rebuy an ETB for you and kill a problematic creature on your opponent's side. Just be careful when you use it, because while your opponent can't really blow you all the way out, as the damage is dealt based on the highest power creature when it resolves, you do have to choose your opponent's creature first. So if you choose their X3 and only have one 3X and they remove it, you still get to do damage to their creature, but you won't be killing it anymore. I'm giving this a 6. Ice Cream Kitty is 1 and a green-black hybrid for a 1/3 artifact creature food cat mutant at common. It has 2, sacrifice another creature or token, draw a card, activate only as a sorcery, or 2, tap, sacrifice this creature, you gain 3 life. This is my early vote for cutest art in the set. And as far as a card goes, it'll be a pretty solid role player in a lot of green decks. Green-blue will have mutagen tokens lying around to sacrifice to draw cards, and this has 2 built-in ways to trigger disappear for black-green. It's probably never doing anything crazy, but it'll bring you some value and isn't a terrible late-game draw either. Gets a 6. Karai, Future of the Foot. 1, a white and a black for a 3/3 legendary creature human ninja at uncommon. She has sneak for 2 white-black, and whenever Karai deals combat damage to a player, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If her sneak cost was paid this turn, instead, return that card to the battlefield. This card is going to make combat against Orzhov decks a nightmare if they have anything good in their graveyard. If they have anything good, this will make you want to chump block or make other bad blocks just to make sure nothing is unblocked for her to sneak. Now, if you can't sneak it, it's just okay, as it isn't super intimidating by itself and has no evasion. But a 3/3 for 3 is reasonable, and its sneak upside is great if you can get some mill going in your deck. Sometimes you won't have anything in your graveyard worth reanimating, and that brings this down a little bit, but definitely keep this card in mind against Orzhov decks. Due to the setup, I'm going to give this a 7, but man, one good trigger with this will almost feel like a bomb. Karai's Technique. 1 white-black for a sorcery at uncommon. It has sneak for white and a black, and choose one or both. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn, or target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. Man, after Karai and her technique, I'm really looking forward to playing black-white and dreading playing against it. This wrecks combat for your opponent so badly. +3/+3 makes your creature win almost any combat, and -3/-3 will kill a lot of things too. This looks like a really easy 2-for-1 if you can sneak it out, and even for its regular sorcery speed cost, you probably kill something and have a much better attack. This is going to mess people up, and just like Karai, it gets a 7. Krang and Shredder. 4 blue-black hybrid for a 6/7 legendary creature, Ultron Human Ninja at rare. When Krang and Shredder enter or attack, each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. They have Disappear. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn, you may cast a card exiled with Krang and Shredder without paying its mana cost. This card seems great. Good stats, great ETB, and the Disappear trigger seems slightly easier to set due to mutagen tokens. If you get it to trigger once, you feel great. That's a 2-for-1. Add any more than that, and you start running away with the game. Just make sure to play the after a combat where you traded off a creature with your opponent first, or you can crack a mutagen token or something. I'm giving this a 9 with the caveat that you need to play it right. The Last Ronin. 4 green-black for an enchantment saga at Mythic Rare. Chapter 1 says destroy all creatures. Chapter 2 says mill 4 cards. When you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Chapter 3 says, whenever a creature you control attacks alone this turn, put 3 +1/+1 counters on it. It gains Trample, Lifelink, and Indestructible until end of turn. Board wipes can be powerful, but are sometimes hard to find the right spot for them. This one is more expensive than you normally want to spend on a board wipe, but it gives you some additional value as well. And while your opponent gets to rebuild first after the board wipe, Chapter 3 helps fix that by making you a big beater that will gain you a bunch of life. Board wipes can really flip a game on its head, but the ability to make it work in your favor, I think, makes this one an 8. Lessons from Life. 2 green-blue for a sorcery at uncommon. Draw 3 cards. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. Do you like magic in your magic? Because these turtles are playing magic in their turtle magic cards. Anyway, this will depend on the speed of the format. 4 mana draw 3 can certainly help you get back into the game late when you need to refill your hand, but in some formats, you can't really take a turn off to do it. If the format is slow, I think all blue-green decks will want 1 copy of this, but if it's really low to the ground and aggressive, it might be too hard to fire it off. I'll start this as a 6, as it looks to be a medium speed set from my overhead view. Mechanized Ninja Cavalry. 1 red-white hybrid for a 1/1 artifact creature robot ninja at common. When this creature enters, create a 1/1 colorless robot artifact creature token. This is an awesome 2-drop. 2 bodies for 2 mana is great. This works well in Go Wide or artifact synergies. And the hybrid mana means you'll be able to play it in any deck playing red or white. It's not even a terrible late game draw, as it will give you multiple bodies to stabilize or continue pushing depending on what you need. Now, neither of the bodies it gives you is amazing, so I'm going to start this as a 6. Mikey and Don Party Planners. 2 green-blue hybrid for a 3/3 legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle at rare. They have Ward 2, and you may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play lands and cast Mutant, Ninja, or Turtle spells from the top of your library. If you cast a creature spell this way, that creature enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. Stats aren't great, but Ward 2 helps with that. You'll get pretty good value out of the other abilities as well. If you have this, obviously pack your deck with as many mutants, ninjas, and turtles as you can, so you can hopefully chain cards together, but even if you can't, this will help you burn through lands that you don't want to draw as well. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. Mikey and Leo, Chaos and Order. Green-white hybrid for a 2/2 legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle at rare. Whenever you put a counter on a creature you control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. A 2/2 for 2 that makes all of your mutagen tokens also draw a card for 1 mana is pretty good. Just try to save mutagens for later turns as you can only trigger this ability once a turn. These guys are going to be a crazy value engine in most of your matches, especially in green-white or green-blue. I'm giving them an 8. Mouser Mark III, 1 blue-red hybrid for a 2/3 artifact creature robot at common. This creature can't attack unless you control another artifact. Stats are decent, and this will mostly not have a downside in artifact decks. It's also an artifact itself for said artifact decks, so it is an enabler and a small payoff. Outside of artifact decks, though, I think you really only play this if you're desperate for a 2-drop, and even in artifact decks, it's nothing super exciting. This gets a 4. The Neutrinos, 2 red-white for a 2/4 legendary creature Elf Rebel at uncommon. They have flying and Alliance. Whenever another creature you control enters, the Neutrinos get +1/+0 until end of turn. And whenever the Neutrinos attack, exile up to 1 target creature you own, then return it to the battlefield under your control, tapped and attacking. Another really good signpost uncommon here, this time for red-white. The normal play pattern with this one will be turn 4, play this. Turn 5, play a new creature, buff this for 1. Attack, flicker the new creature, buff this again, and effectively give the new creature haste as it comes back tapped and attacking. That's already good and doesn't even touch on rebuying any ETBs that you have. Seeing this near the middle of pack 1 is a really good sign that red-white will be open, and it'll push me hard towards that color pair. I'm giving this a 7. Nobody. 1 blue-red hybrid for a 3/2 artifact creature human hero at common. When this creature enters, return up to 1 other target artifact you control to its owner's hand. Scry 1. Stats are below rate and you won't always want to or be able to bounce something. Best case scenario is it gets you 2 artifact ETB triggers and rebuys another ETB, but it's not always going to line up like that, and then you're just getting a 3-mana 3/2. I don't love that. I'm giving this one a 4. Northwind Avatar, 2 blue-blue-red for a 5/5 creature Dragon Spirit Avatar at Mythic Rare. It's got flying, and when this creature enters, if you cast it, you may put a card you own from outside the game into your hand. I'm already reasonably happy with a 5/5 flyer for 5, and this just grabs a card from your sideboard for free. You're probably not grabbing anything amazing, but it's a free card on an already good body, so you can't really complain. And sometimes you'll be able to grab the silver bullet you need for what your opponent is doing, and it'll feel totally nuts. 3 colored pips isn't the easiest to cast, so I wouldn't splash it, but if you're in blue-red, this is a slam dunk. It gets an 8. Pizza Face Gastromancer, 3 black-green for a 2/4 legendary artifact creature food mutant and uncommon. When Pizza Face enters, create a food token. Disappear. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn, put 3 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 other target artifact or creature. If it isn't a creature, it becomes a 0/0 mutant creature in addition to its other types. 10, tap, sacrifice Pizza Face, you gain 15 life. If Ice Cream Kitty is getting my vote for the cutest art in the set, this is getting my vote for the worst art in the set. We're going to basically just ignore the last ability on this card. It's there, but you might only do it once the whole set. Now the rest of the card has some great words on it, but it's hard to get going. Black-green always seems to get the Revolt or Morbid or Void mechanic, and it's always harder than you think to get it going. You have to have the Disappear payoff, the expendable material, and the way to use said expendable material. This set helps some because food and mutagen tokens can cover both of the last 2 things together, but to be able to make the tokens and use them in the same turn over and over is not easy. People will get an engine going with this, and it'll seem crazy, but most often you probably trigger this at most once a game, and while that'll be pretty decent value, you have to weigh that against the times it does nothing. I hope I'm wrong because black-green is my favorite color pair in Magic, but I'm starting this at a 5. Punk Frogs, 3 green-blue hybrid for a 4/5 creature Frog Mutant Rebel at common. It has Ward 3. That's it. Now Ward 3 is pretty close to hexproof, so this is a fine place to stack counters. Stats start below average, but 1 or 2 counters and you're in business. That's it though. It's nice to occasionally see a card with only 2 relevant words in the text box. Giving this a 5. Putrid Pals. 2 green-black hybrid for a 3/3 creature, human ooze mutant at common. It has Death Touch and Disappear. This creature enters with 2 +1/+1 counters on it if a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn. I'm glad they gave this Death Touch because normally these enter bigger if something died. Creatures are basically just bad or okay vanillas depending on the counters or not. Now this isn't setting any formats on fire even if you get the trigger, but the fact that it's relevant even without the Disappear trigger makes this okay at basically any point in the game. It may also be the only Disappear trigger that's not an end step trigger, but I'm not positive on that. This gets a 5. Raph and Leo Sibling Rivals. 1 red-white hybrid for a 2/4 legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle at rare. Whenever Raph and Leo attack, if it's the first combat of the turn, untap 1 or 2 target attacking creatures. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Stats are passable. Extra combats aren't always the easiest thing to take advantage of, but if you have 2 other beefy creatures, you can certainly throw around some damage. Raph and Leo don't even have to attack, and you probably don't want them to the second time. It might be tricky to take full advantage of it, but I'll start them at a 7. Raph and Mikey Troublemakers. 5 red-green hybrid for a 7/7 legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle at rare. They have Trample and Haste, and whenever Raph and Mikey attack, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped and attacking, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is the card that you want to attack twice with Raph and Leo. A 7/7 beater for 7 that gets to attack and put something into play on the turn it comes down is great. You can't whiff with it either as you go until you hit a creature. Now there's downside with that as well, as you don't get any selection, but that's nitpicking a card that is just going to do a ton of work if you cast it. You won't always get to because it costs 7, but green almost always has ways to ramp, so you can most likely get there. This may drop a little bit if the set is too quick, but I'm going to start this out as our first 10 out of 10. Slithering Cryptid. 2 green-blue hybrid for a 2/3 creature, fish mutant, at common. When this creature enters, create a mutagen token. As a base 3 mana 2/3 or a 4 mana 3/4, I don't love either of these stat lines, but this gives you mutagen tokens for the mutagen deck, which is what green-blue seems all about, as well as being an important creature type with mutant. I still think it's just okay and won't always make in the cut, so I'm giving it a 5. Splinter, Radical Rat. 1 white-black hybrid for a 2/4 legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Rat at rare. If an ability of a ninja creature you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. And for 1 and a blue, target ninja can't be blocked this turn. Seems to be plenty of ninjas in the set, and even if they don't have triggered abilities, they can all still be made unblockable. If they have triggered abilities, and you can afford the 2 mana to make sure that they hit, you should be able to snowball pretty hard, pretty fast. Master Splinter starts at a 7. Tainted Treats. 1 green-black for an instant at uncommon. Destroy target artifact or creature. If its mana value is 4 or less, create a food token. 3 mana instant speed removal is always premium, and this gives you some extra synergy in the black-green deck, since a lot of the time it gives you a food to trigger your Disappear with later on. You're hitting a creature 90% of the time with this, but it's nice that you have the artifact option as well. This gets a 7. Taka and Razar, Terrible Twos. Black-red hybrid for a 3/2 legendary creature, Turtle Wolf Mutant at rare. This spell can't be countered. They have Menace, and whenever a player casts a spell, if the amount of mana spent to cast it was less than its mana value, Taka and Razar deal 3 damage to that player. I misread this my first time through and thought that they gave us an upgraded Eidolon of the Great Revels. These guys are not that, but they're pretty aggressive. If you get this on turn 2, they're almost always guaranteed to get a hit or 2 in and then trade off with something of your opponent's. The second ability probably won't come up too much, and I assume it's mostly aimed at bolting sneak effects, but it's just extra on an already good card. Since it's not a great top deck later in the game, I don't want to quite give this an 8, so I'm going to start them at a 7. Chrome Dome. For 2 generic mana is a 1/3 artifact creature robot ninja at rare. Other artifact creatures you control get +1/+0. For 5, you can create a token that's a copy of another target artifact you control. That token gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. This is a fine 2-drop if you have a lot of artifact creatures. The ability will be a fine late game mana sink to try and chip away at your opponent in a board stall and give you even more value if you have artifacts with good ETBs. I think I'll give this a build around, as I think it's like a 4 if you don't have enough artifacts, but a 7 if you do. Everything Pizza. 2 generic for an artifact food at uncommon. When this artifact enters, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. For 2 white, blue, black, red, green, and tap, sacrifice this artifact. Target player gains 3 life and draws a card. Each of your opponents discards a card. This artifact deals 3 damage to any target. Put 3 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature. I really hope this is good. It's very reminiscent of Path to the World Tree from Kaldheim, and that card was pretty decent in its set. Now that set had a bit more of a multicolor twist to it, and the path can help you find your snowlands as well, but the similarities are certainly there. This will help you fix if you have a big bomb you need to splash. If you can get the Wooburg ability to go off, it's going to feel great, but I would just look at this as color fixing. And it gets better if you have any artifact synergies as well. I just wish you could sack it like a regular food if you can't do the big ability. Bombs seem very important in this set, so I'll give this as a 4 that plays more like a 5 if you have an important splash. Henchbots. 4 generic mana for a 2/3 artifact creature robot at uncommon. When this creature enters, exile target tapped creature an opponent controls until this creature leaves the battlefield. Fiend Hunters always play decently to good depending on the set. This is more restrictive as it can only hit tapped creatures, but can also go in any deck. The stats really aren't great though, so whatever you exile probably isn't staying gone for very long, and a lot of the time the thing that you need to exile just won't be tapped. When you get to exile something, just try to aim for a token or something without an ETB if you can, so as not to give your opponent any extra value. I'm starting this at a 5. Krang, Utrom Warlord. 9 generic for a 9/9 legendary artifact creature Utrom robot at Mythic Rare. He has flying, trample, indestructible, and haste. Other artifact creatures you control have flying, trample, indestructible, and haste. He's a big beater that's hard to remove, and he makes all of your other artifact creatures hard to remove as well. But he's also 9 mana, and you don't get there often. A bit of a coin flip because if you cast him, unless you're way behind, you're probably going to win the game, but the rest of the time, he just sits in your hand and stares at you with his goofy face. I'm going to start him at a 7 to average out the times he wins for you versus the times he rots in your hand. Speed of the format will push him one way or the other. Omni Cheese Pizza. 2 generic for an artifact food at common. When this artifact enters, draw a card. 1 tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color. 2 tap, sack this artifact, you gain 3 life. At the very worst, this replaces itself, which admittedly has less value nowadays as it used to as Magic speeds up, but that's the very lowest floor. It helps splash, triggers artifact ETBs, and is useful fodder for disappear triggers. It's useful in a variety of decks, and that makes it a decent common, giving this a 5. The Ooze is 2 generic mana for a legendary artifact at rare that reads, whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it leaves the battlefield, create a mutagen token for each +1/+1 counter on it. You can also tap it and exile target card from a graveyard to create a mutagen token. Does this remind anyone else of the Ozolith? Because I'm getting serious Ozolith vibes here. There are certainly differences, but if you have some decent counter stuff going on aside from this, I think this can create some decent value. It also slowly fuels itself, even if you don't have other mutagen tokens, and it can also provide some slow graveyard hate. This gets an 8. Skateboard is 1 generic mana for an artifact equipment at uncommon. When this equipment enters, tap target permanent. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has haste, and it has equip 1. This can put in some extra damage when you get it on turn 1, but then you're also playing a mana behind to use it every turn. You can use this in aggressive decks as it removes a blocker and maybe lets a new creature swing this turn or an old one hit harder, but in most other decks, I think you'd rather just have another creature on board, giving this a 3. Technodrome is a 2-mana, 3/3 artifact creature construct at Mythic Rare. It has Reach and Trample. This creature can't attack or block unless its power is 6 or greater, and tap, sacrifice another artifact, draw a card. Put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little stumped on this one. My gut is telling me that it's too slow and you really need a lot of artifacts to make it work. That's my current guess. It does essentially add draw a card to your mutagen tokens for this creature though. If you can go crazy on artifacts, especially on the mutagen tokens, this maybe gets a little better, but I'm starting off conservatively on this one and giving it a 5. With one of the archetypes being artifacts, you can probably get enough to do something with this. Turtle Blimp. 5 generic for a 3/4 artifact vehicle at uncommon. It has flying, and when this vehicle enters, create a 2/2 red mutant creature token, and crew 2. I don't like this. Vehicles are normally overstated for the cost due to the downside that you have to work to make them a creature. Now this one makes you the creature to crew it with, but it's still a situational 3/4 flyer for 5. I'm caught between a 3 and a 4 on this one, but I think I'm going to stay low on it and go with a 3. Turtle Van is a 3 generic mana 4/4 artifact vehicle at rare. Whenever this vehicle attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature that crewed it this turn. Then, if that creature is a mutant, ninja, or turtle, double the number of +1/+1 counters on it, and it crews for 1. I'm not normally a huge fan of vehicles, but I don't hate this one. There's enough counter synergy going on in the set that the added value this gives is legit, and the crew 1 cost is really nice. The stats aren't insane for the cost, but they're really reasonable. Nothing crazy, but a decent body and some bonus value sprinkled in. This van gets a solid 6. Weathermaker. 3 generic mana for an artifact at rare. It has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, put a charge counter on this artifact. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color, tap it and remove 2 charge counters from this artifact, add 2 generic mana, and tap it and remove 3 charge counters from this artifact. It deals 3 damage to any target. We've had a couple 3 mana rocks that were worth it in the past year, but most of them aren't. I think this is one of the latter. The second ability will be mostly useless by the time you can do it, and the third ability will just be really slow. It offers some fixing if you need a splash, but I'd hope you'd have better ways to do it. This 3-mana rock gets a 4 on my scale. A new set of what is known colloquially as gain lands. We only get 5 of them, 1 for each archetype in the set, and dual colored lands are always pretty good fixing and limited. They're slow as they enter tapped and have 0 added utility as there aren't really any life gain payoffs in the set, but you'll use them to improve your mana base or help splash. They all get a 6. Escape Tunnel is a common land that reads, sacrifice this land, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle, or tap, sacrifice this land, target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. This is a reprint, but it's a good one. You'll normally just use this as an Evolving Wilds to help color fix in your deck, but sometimes you just want to push some damage through, and the second ability helps with that. This gets an even bigger buff for that second ability because of the sneak mechanic, and it'll hopefully let you push through an even bigger threat for even more damage. 6 out of 10. Northampton Farm, a land at rare that taps to add a colorless mana, 1, tap it, exile target creature you own, and 2, tap, sacrifice this land, return a creature card exiled with this land to the battlefield under your control, return each other card exiled with this land to its owner's hand. Colorless lands are really tough because the utility is nice, but hurting your mana base is really rough and limited. I wouldn't plan on doing anything crazy with this. May save a couple creatures from removal and then bring them back later. And this definitely gets better the more ETBs you have and the less color intensive your deck is, but I'm starting it at a 4. Turtle Lair, a land at uncommon that reads, tap, add 1 colorless mana, tap, add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana only to cast a ninja or turtle spell, or 3 and tap, target ninja or turtle can't be blocked this turn. This one's a little tricky. Colorless lands really hurt your mana base, and the fixing in the second ability is not normally very helpful. It can help, but it's very situational. The third ability can be very helpful for sneak, but you probably won't have much extra mana left over after having to use 4 to activate this. Overall, I'd probably say skip this land unless your color pips are really light, but if you have a ton of ninjas, turtles, and/or sneak, you could also maybe look at it. I'm giving this a 3. That's the end of my set review for Multicolor, Colorless, and lands. I will be doing a set review for each of the individual colors, so keep tuned for that. If you like this, feel free to share it and like and subscribe. Thanks.